So, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, and assembled company, welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe. And today, sitting in not sunny Somerset, she came from there or something. Um, uh, on the opposite, just off the M25
Yes.
in fair London town,
Mm.
in the centre of the world, uh, South Mims. Uh, we have the incomparable, the amazing, the fantastic, the director of the East Anglian Storytelling Festival. So she's got all the worries and none of the advantages of life, and the the wonderful Sarah Lloyd Winder. Please take it away.
Woo! Thank you. That's an amazing introduction from, not sunny South Mims today. Damp, wet, and guggy South Mims. But we still have our highwayman. Have I told you the story of the highwayman? I think I need.
Yes. You did a whole highwayman
I
set.
did. I did. That's it. That's what we're famous for, highwayman. Not our service station and not our road system. So, and you're lucky.
No, but it is if you come off one if you're traveling east and you come off, and I give this as a public information exercise. If you come off one turning earlier, take the Albans turning, which and move towards South Mims, you can move into a shopping centre with Sainsbury's, etc. So where the petrol is much cheaper than the service station, and the eating houses are cheaper. So I just give that as a little public information. Of course, I wouldn't take anything away from any service station and their excessive prices on the motorways. Sorry, Sarah, you were telling stories.
I was going to tell stories, but there you go. Anyway, I'm not in Somerset. I'm in Somerset tomorrow. So I thought I'd tell a Somerset story because I was thinking all about Somerset today. And my sister said something about get off my land. And this is a story that has that phrase in it. Once there was a farmer, and he had a big farm, and he would walk around his farm so tall, striding along with his dogs at his heel and his stick at the side. But was he happy? No. He used to shout at anybody who put even a toe over the hedge, who snuck round through a gate. Get off my land, he would say. This is my land. And it even extended to the animals. So one evening when the sun was going down and everybody else in the village would have felt relaxed and calm and happy and probably been off to the pub, no, this farmer strode round the edges of his fields, and there he saw two crows sitting in a tree. Crows, big, black, long-beaked birds, sitting staring. And one dropped from the tree onto the ground. And the farmer, he picked up his stick and he shouted, "Get off my land!" And the bird did not move. The bird didn't think it was talking to him. And so the farmer took up his stick, he held it tight like a golf club, and he hit that bird for six. Turning and turning and turning, he went crunch onto the ground. And the farmer, he laughed. He said, "That'll teach you. Don't you come back here." And he turned round just to go when suddenly there was a person in front of him. Well, he wasn't actually staring eye to eye because the person was only about 4'6". But even though his stature was small, his whole personality was big, and he looked the farmer square in the eye and he said, "That is not very nice." And the farmer, he just smiled and said, "Ha! Well, where there had been one small man, now there were three, and they all looked him in the eye and said, 'That is not very nice.' Now, with one he was tough, with three he was toughish. But suddenly, not one, not three, but 15 small men seemed to appear in front of him, and they all had that attitude. And they looked him square in the eye, and they all said, 'That is not very nice.' And then they turned to each other, and they smiled, a smile that only they understood. And the first man, he said, 'A race, a race.' And the second one said, 'Oh, yes, a race.' And suddenly there seemed to be small horses appearing from everywhere. 'A race, they all said, and they were gathering these little fell ponies, these small horses, not big, galloping, magnificent things, no, rough and ready, fell pony types. And they got one of these small ponies, and they got that farmer, and they huddled around him, and they huddled him up onto the pony. And his legs, they dangled almost to the ground, touching the ground with his toes. And suddenly, those little men were all lined up across the field. 'A race, they shouted. And they were off across the field. Now the farmer, he had not wanted to participate. He had not wanted to get on the pony. He had no option. The little ponies cuddled up close, and soon they were racing across the field, going this and that and that and this, and jumping and turning. That poor farmer, he couldn't see the direction. He didn't know what he was doing. He wasn't a rider of small fell ponies. He was used to a sedentary horse, a big horse for his stature. This bareback riding with no reins was terrifying. He was moved side to side, forwards and back. And I'll tell you one thing from experience, riding bareback does terrible things to your thighs and your bottom. We might not say arse here. Gripping on tight. That poor man trying to grab the reins. There were no reins. Backwards and forwards, side to side, across the field. And the little men were getting more and more excited. "The finish!" they shouted. "The finish! The finish!" And they seemed to race even further. There was a big water jump, a stream, and it looked like a lake. And that poor farmer, he clung on as they leapt over, landed on the other side, and cheers went up. He looked around. He could see nothing. Just the sides of ponies as he slowly slid sideways down onto the ground. He knew no more. The next morning the farm woke up looking for the farmer. Workers were outside. People were preparing. No farmer, no orders being shouted as usual, no angry voice. Dogs, his dogs, were back at the farm. No farmer. Search parties were sent out, and eventually he was found, crumpled up, rolled over at the side of a ditch, other side of the stream. They picked him up and carried him home, and they say he was unconscious for a week. Well, when he woke up, his whole manner had changed. No longer that man who shouted, "Get off my land!" He invited people on. He had picnics. They said it was his head. They thought it would only last for so long. But there was a lady who lived in the village of Melbourne Port who said It was the fairies, you know. They taught him a lesson, and you better listen too, for they'll come for you if you don't listen and behave. And that's my story from Melbourne Port, a funny village. Thank you. So Melbourne Port is down the road and up the hill. And at the weekend I'll be going. My daughter wants to go to a buffalo farm this weekend to get mozzarella, which is completely mad. But we spend a lot of time in sunny Somerset. But this is a Greek story. I'm not sure if it's a children's story, but it's a person's story. And I thought I'd challenge myself to tell this story differently. So this is the story of Cupid and Psyche. Ta-da! Once upon a time, there was a king, and the king had 3 daughters. The first was fair, the second was fair, but that third daughter was very fair. Beautiful, exquisite, talked about. And talked about not just in the court, not just in the city, not just in the country, but word got to the hearing of the gods, because this is such an old story that the Greek gods and the Roman gods are involved. And this child grew up to be a young woman, and so exquisite was her face, so beautiful were her looks, that word got to the goddess Venus. And they said this girl was the fairest in all the world, was more beautiful even than the goddess Venus. Now, no goddess likes to be told that she's not the most beautiful thing in the world. You know, it's one of those mistakes you shouldn't make. And so guess what? Venus was not happy. She thought, and she thought, and then she thought, I have the perfect solution. I have Cupid, my son. And Cupid can take his arrow and shoot his arrow at the most ugly and evil thing, and she will fall in love, and that will be it. And my problems will be over. And so that is what Venus prepared to do. But back down on earth among the mere mortals, there was a king with 3 daughters. Now, he got rid of the eldest daughter. He got rid of the middle daughter, married them off. That's what you do. But the youngest one, nobody wanted. Why did nobody want this beautiful girl? So as they did in the time, they went and asked the oracle. Now, in this day and age, some people might call the social media of the world the oracle. Some people might put her picture up on social media and say, why is my daughter not married? And I'm sure people do. It's so horrendous. But this king, he took his daughter to the oracle. Why is she not married? And the oracle suggested that he took her up to the highest mountain and left her there for her to find her partner. Now, the king wasn't sure what was going on here, but being as he was a king and he always obeyed the oracle, that's what he did. He took his daughter, dressed in her wedding clothes, up to the highest mountain, to the top where it's really ugly and bare and the rocks are pointy and hard. And he left her there, abandoned her. And it was bad. But then there was a wind called the Zephyr, and the Zephyr picked her up and enveloped her and took her to a field of wildflowers and dropped her down. And suddenly she was happy again. And she sat in the flowers and she went to sleep. Now, remember that the goddess Venus was not happy, that the goddess Venus had decided that she would send her son to do an evil thing. Well, he came upon the lovely Psyche sleeping in a field of flowers, and he walked around her and around her in his invisible force. And he looked at that girl and he fell in love. And he was supposed to point the arrow and make her fall in love with a monster, and he couldn't. He turned the arrow on himself. He pierced his own heart. But he didn't become visible. He wasn't that brave. He left her sleeping in that field of flowers. And when she woke up, she walked through the field of flowers, and she walked on until she found a palace of marble. And she walked inside, and it was very strange. There were no people, but there was voices all the time. People talked to her, and she answered, but she couldn't see anybody around her. It was a bit spooky. And there she was in her wedding clothes, and they muttered to her, "You are going to be married. You will be married tonight. You will meet your husband tonight." And she was quite prepared. She'd been sent off to the mountain by her father. How more weird could life get? And there she was in this strange palace with these creepy voices all around her. But she accepted it. She was a brave girl. And that night, she waited for her husband. And she waited until eventually it got dark and all the lights went out. All the lights. And then a voice came out of the darkness. She didn't know. It could have been a monster, but no, it was Cupid. Cupid came in his hidden form. He wasn't going to show her who he was. But he was lovely and kind, and he talked and they laughed. And every night he came, and every night they talked and they laughed, but it had to be dark and it had to be black. And this went on night after night. And the nights were fun, but the days were boring. She was on her own. So she asked her husband if she could have her family visit. And her sisters came, and she thought that would be great fun, and it wasn't. Her sisters were jealous because she looked so happy, and she had a palace. And the elder one, she had a grumpy old man as a husband. And the middle one, she was not happy because she had an athletic leader who kept fighting battles and never wanted to come home as a husband. And so they weren't nice to her. They kept muttering to her. They said, "Where is this husband? What does he look like? He's probably a monster. You know, I think he's a serpent with wings. He's obviously very ugly. That's why he's hiding from you all the time." And by the time they left, that's what she believed. And so when her sisters left, she prepared to find out who this man who came every night was. She had a lamp and a knife. And she would see if this person who came every night was a serpent or a monster. And so she prepared. That night, she lit the lamp and hid it, ready. And when Cupid went to sleep, she got the lamp. She got her knife. She was ready to strike at the monster if he really was a monster, of course. And she lifted up the lamp. And what did she see? Did she see a monster? Did she see a beast? Did she see a serpent? Was he ugly? No. He was beautiful. He was Cupid, not the tiny little fat cheruby Cupid that you see in Victorian tales. No, he was an elegant god, an athlete, a runner. His wings fitted perfectly, and they were folded now behind him as he slept with his golden hair on her pillow, and she was about to strike him with her knife when she dropped the knife, and as she dropped the knife, she tipped the oil from her lamp, and it burnt one of his wings. Now, even the nicest human being does not want to be burnt by hot oil in the middle of the night when they're asleep. And Cupid was not the best of men in the middle of the night when his wing was burnt. And he woke up and he screamed and he shouted and he said the most horrible things to her, which he shouldn't have said, but he did. And she cried, and she was appalled. And she was upset and sad, and she ran from that palace, and she ran and she ran, and she tore her clothes and she pulled her hair, and she threw dirt all over herself. She was so sad. She went to the temple of Juno, and cleaned the temple in order to say sorry, but it didn't work. She went to the temple of Ceres and did the same, and did it work? No. And then she went to the temple of Venus. And do we think this is a bad idea? Do. Venus, god of beauty and love. Venus, who really did not like Psyche because she was the most beautiful girl in all the world and had set her sun on her. So there was Venus thinking, there is this girl and I can have my revenge. I will set you trials, young woman, she said. Ha ha! What trials shall I set? And the first, dastardly it was. Come, she said. And Venus took little Psyche to this warehouse, where all the seeds in all her land were mixed up in a pile. Now, she said to Psyche, I want the poppy seeds there, I want the split peas there, I want the lentils over there and the chickpeas here by morning. And she was gone. Psyche sat there and thought, what am I to do? And a little ant came up, little tiny thing. And she stroked little ant. She said, Ant, I wish you could help me. And where there had been one, soon there were two little ants. Oh, I wish you could help me, ants. And then there were more ants. And suddenly she realized the little ants were running everywhere and sorting out the piles. They piled up poppy seeds, they piled up split peas, they piled up lentils, they piled up chickpeas, everything. And no sooner had they done it than they all disappeared. And when morning came, imagine how Venus was really not happy, really unhappy. How had this girl sorted this out? It was spooky. You may have done that, she said, but the next task will be even harder. Come with me, young woman. And she took Psyche to where the sheep with the golden fleece walked through a glade in the wood. I want you to collect golden fleece from every sheep here, she said. And woe betide you if you don't. I will be back tomorrow morning. And Psyche stood there and hugged herself. How can I collect wool from those sheep? Because as she looked at their horns, and they had those big angry horns, you know, the big heavy, almost like Highland cattle, old-fashioned sheep that run at you and butt you in the nose, with long, sharp teeth that they bite you. And as she stood, she could see the river running between her and the land of the sheep. And the water rose high and fast, and it went through the reeds, and the reeds talked to her. And the reeds said, don't move, Psyche. Don't move, Psyche. Don't move, Psyche. Just stay and wait till the sun is so high that the sheep, they go into the shade. And they won't come at you with their long, long teeth, and they won't come at you with their really sharp horns. Wait till it's too hot, and then you can come amongst the trees and pick off the wool that's sitting on the trees. Don't go to the sheep. Pick it off from the trees. And that's what Psyche did. She waited till the river slowed. And then she walked under the trees as the sun was so hot that the sheep hid in the shade. And she picked off fleece from every tree until she had a hoard of wool. Wool enough to make a coat, wool enough to spin a golden, golden cloak. So when Venus came in the morning, was Venus happy? No, Venus was not happy. Venus was very grumpy. She looked at this girl and she said, I don't know how you're doing it. It's witchcraft, isn't it? Well, here is your third task, and you won't manage this one, young lady. And she gave her a box, and she said, you must now go down to Hades, to the underworld, to the world below. Take this box and go to Persephone, and go and ask her for the beauty, for the cream of her beauty that she puts on her face, for I need it for the party with the gods tonight. Well, Psyche knew that this was too much. How could she go down below, to the world of Hades, which is the world of death, and all dark and grey things, and all horrible, deep and horrible things? And Psyche climbed a tower to think, and all she could think was, I shall jump off the tower, and then it will all end, and I won't have to do anything. But the tower, it was having none of it. You can't do that, it said. Don't be silly. Come on. You can do this. Come on, we can do this together. You need some coins. Don't forget your coins. Be careful. Remember that when you walk into Hades, everything is an illusion. When you think you see something crying for help, do not help. It's an illusion. It's tempting you. And when you get to Persephone and you put the ointment in the box, don't ever open the box. So after the tower had spoken, Psyche felt a bit stronger. And she walked down from the tower, and she walked down into the caves below, and she kept going down and down and down, darker and darker it went, until she walked into the land below, the land of Hades, the land of death. And she came to the big river, which is called the River of Styx. And there was the ferryman. And she remembered that the tower had said, take 2 coins. One for there and one for back. So she gave the ferryman the coin, and off she went over the river. But as she was going over the river, there was a baby floating past her in the boat, and it reached up with such appealing eyes and cried, and she was about to reach for it when she remembered. It is all an illusion. It is all there to make you jump, to make you do the wrong thing. And she pulled back her hand and she closed her eyes. And she walked deeper on into Hades, down past things we cannot discuss here, the deep and the dark and the horrible, till she got to Persephone. And she told her the task she had been given, and Persephone was nice. She gave her the ointment and placed it in the box. Well, that's what Psyche thought. She didn't see and she didn't look. And she took the box and she put it back. And she walked out and she had her coin ready to go across the river. And she walked up those many, many caves. And as she walked up and up and up, a voice started in her head. Open the box. Look in the box. Nobody'll know. Open the box. Look in the box. Nobody would know. Go on, have a look. You know, it's not fair. You've been all this way and all this way back. Go on, have a look. Nobody'll know. It'll be all right. Oh, go on, be brave, have a look in the box. And she got out and she was walking across the field and she could resist no longer. And she opened the box. And out of the box came this miasma. I love that word. Like a little cloud it was. It smelt so sweet. And it was like a mist, a pinky purple mist. And she smelt it, breathed it in. And it was a magic of deep, deep sleep, of eternal sleep, of sleep like no other. And she immediately sank to the road and lay there, sleeping as if dead. Now, far away, Cupid had been recovering. His wing, well, it was getting a lot better now. He could flap it around. He'd sort of forgiven her. She didn't mean to do it. And something told him that she was in trouble. And he'd been placed in his room with the doors closed and the windows closed, and there wasn't really a way out. Then there was a little gap, and he saw a little gap by the window that he could slide through. And he slid out the window, making sure his mother couldn't hear. And he went out looking to see, where was Psyche? Where was Psyche? And he looked in the palace. She hadn't come back. He looked on the land where she'd grown up. Wasn't there. And then he flew over the land and he saw a body lying in a road, a sleeping body, and he looked down and saw it was Psyche. And he went down and he picked her up and he hugged her to him, but there was nothing he could do. He couldn't wake her. This wasn't like Sleeping Beauty. He couldn't kiss her and get her to wake up. So he had to carry her up to the land of the gods. And there was Jupiter sitting. And sometimes he feels good and sometimes he feels bad. Today, Psyche was lucky. He didn't feel so bad. And so he listened. And Cupid whispered in his ear, "Look, we've had a bit of a problem. Mother doesn't quite like her." A thing that sometimes happens. I mean, if we're listening to the world of social media, there are times when daughters-in-law and mothers-in-law do not get on. And this might have been one of those occasions. But Jupiter took pity on her. And he woke her from her deep and long, long sleep. And he gave her the drink of ambrosia that changed her from mortal girl into goddess, wife of Cupid. And Cupid and Psyche had a little girl, and that little girl was called Pleasure. And may the story bring pleasure to you and to our world. Thank you.
That was one hell of a story.
Sorry. Yeah, it was a bit much for a Friday evening. Was that all right?
No, it was good. I just had to get the pun in there. That's all.
The dirty evils of hell coming to meet you. Right. So, this is a story that I actually think really follows on from that, and I wasn't going to tell it. And then I was reading up about the Psyche and Cupid story. And Psyche's symbol to the ancient peoples was a butterfly. And this story has a butterfly. And I heard this story from an Irish storyteller called Jack when I was at Festival at the Edge, Jack Lynch. And he told one version, and then I heard somebody else tell the same story, and the people in it were totally different. And then I found out that the story is told and retold in many different ways. So here is that story. Once upon a time, there were two friends. These friends were women, and they were women who were nurses. And they were nurses who were looking after people who were fighting. They were nurses in the land of war. And their nursing was long and exhausting. And sometimes it was a difficult task. And this was their day off. And this day was beautiful. And they walked away from their hospital, and they took with them a picnic. And they walked, and they just walked away from the noise and the battle to have a bit of peace. And they walked till they found the shade of a tree, and they sat under the shade of a tree. And they rested after their feast. And one of the nurses fell asleep, and her friend looked at her and smiled. And then the sleeping nurse yawned, and out of her mouth seemed to come a butterfly flying up. And the nurse was shocked, and she looked at her friend, and she looked at the butterfly, and she saw it fly up and up and up and up. And she stood up and she followed it, so surprised. And it flew and it flew and it flew. And it went to the stream, and it landed on the bank of the stream, on that beach. And then it seemed to see the stepping stones of the little stream, and the little butterfly flew up and down, hopping across the stream to the other side. And the nurse, she followed it as it flew. And then on the far side there was a field, and they flew, and the nurse following across the field until there was a big skeleton. A skeleton white with being baked in the sun. And so baked was that skeleton that the bones looked like marble, and they shone in the sunlight. And the little butterfly flew inside, and her friend peered down, and the butterfly seemed to disappear. And she couldn't see it anywhere, and she was looking around, where is the butterfly? And for a moment she thought she'd lost it. She thought it had disappeared and gone somewhere, and she wouldn't find it. And then suddenly out it flew. And it seemed to turn round and pull her backwards as she followed it back across the field, across that stream, hopping from stepping stone to stepping stone. And it flew back to her friend and into her mouth. And her friend coughed and spluttered and woke up and said, "Oh, I have had the most beautiful dream. I dreamt I was flying. You know when you were a little child and you flew in your dreams? Well, I always did. I don't know about you. I used to swim as I flew. I think that's because I lived by the sea and I did a lot of swimming, but anyway. Flying in your dreams is always one of those magical things." And the nurse said, "And I flew in my dreams, and I could see you down there. I was laughing because I could see you sitting down there, and I flew across and far away to the sea. And in the sea I could see an island, and I flew to that island, and then there was another island, and I flew and I flew till I got to the far land. And in that far land there was a palace of marble. And I went inside and I walked down the marble stairway into a hall, and I wandered round, and it was so beautiful. I almost stayed forever. But then I knew it was time to come back. So I turned round out of the palace and I came out up the stairs and I flew again. I flew back to the beach and I flew over the islands and I flew back to you now. And the two nurses, they hugged. And the two nurses smiled. And they walked back that evening. And they were rested, ready for the fight. The battle to save people the next day. And some say that as Psyche is the butterfly, Psyche also means soul. And many people believe that when someone dies, you open the window so that the soul, sometimes a butterfly, sometimes a bird, can fly away. And there are many tales where people have to open a window. And I think that's what that story means. And I always love that tale. And I love the link between Psyche and the butterfly. There you go. Mad Psyche. I don't know. Do we need another story or not, John? Another story? Can't hear you, John. You're loud.
We do you wish to tell another story? We have time.
Well, I've got plenty of time. Let's have a.
I mean, we always like a story. We are of the opinion that there is a bottomless pit
A
full of
bottomless pit.
stories, and so grab another one from it and
Let's go.
set it free like the butterfly.
Like the butterfly. Let's have a silly story then.
But, sir, I have one question.
Yes?
If butter flies, does margarine walk?
No, it slides like a slug.
Okay.
I do
And
like the
now
question
it's
now.
good.
I will have to come up with a better answer than that one.
Well, be glad I didn't ask you about the moth. Oh, wait. If you had a story about a moth, that would be the moth of all stories. Okay,
No.
I'm going quiet.
You see, I need to...
Sarah, it's Michael Kevin's here. Hi, sorry I was a wee bit late, but if you're going to tell any jokes, be careful people don't, about butter and stuff like that, be careful people don't spread it too thin.
Oh.
I thank you.
Oh. I can see we're dropping here into the slip and the slime and the slide. And did you know that slugs fluoresce? I didn't know. I watched Winter Watch, which is the thing on the BBC here, and they were talking about fluorescing insects. So at night you can see certain insects fluoresce, and slugs and snails fluoresce. They go multicolours, and so do those wood lice. And it's the only thing that you can say nice about a wood lice. It fluoresces in the dark. But anyway, let's just get back to a story. Otherwise, I'll lose it totally. There was a wood, and in their wood, there were some woodcutters. But one day, these woodcutters were told to leave their wood and go to another wood because they had to get some pear wood. It's very special, very light, very beautiful. But you see, woodcutters, they only know their own wood. And when they went to the new wood, they got lost. And being three, they got very lost. 3 woodcutters have 3 different directions at the same time. And soon they were arguing and shouting at each other. Round and round they went. "We've been past this tree twice," they said. "Only once," said the other one. "Yes, well, once is bad enough, twice is awful. This is ridiculous, we don't know where we are." So they sat down in silence, glum silence, looking at each other. And as they were quiet, they heard a sound. And coming through the wood, there was singing. Now, woodcutters in strange woods know that you have to be careful of stray people, and they peered out. And along the path, singing and dancing, were nuns. Now we all know that in whatever society we are, whatever place we are, those ladies that are nuns should not be singing and should definitely not be dancing through woods. And so the woodcutters hid, but they were not quick enough. And they hid and shook because they were so frightened of dancing nuns that the bush they were hiding behind started to shake, and the nuns saw and they pointed. And they said, "That bush, it is shaking. There's somebody there. Come out, whoever you are." And they stood there and they laughed and they smiled and they shouted until the poor woodcutters had to creep out of the bushes, feeling very, very, "Oh dear, we've been caught," they said. "We didn't mean to watch you singing and dancing in the wood. I know we shouldn't be doing that, but..." "Oh, don't worry," said the nuns. "Oh dear, we've had such a time of it. We set out the day before yesterday. We were going to get some special wildflowers for the Mother Superior, but we got a bit lost. It's this wood. It's so dense. We've been round and round and round, and then we got hungry. And we got so hungry that when we came upon these mushrooms, well, we decided that either they would kill us or they would cure us. So we picked the mushrooms. Well, we let her over there try them first. She's the youngest. She could take it. And she said it was all right. So we each had a try. And you know, it just made our tummies tickle. And then it started the giggling. And then it started the laughing. And then it was the dancing. And finally the singing. And we have been singing and dancing through the woods ever since. And they were so happy and so excited. They insisted that the woodcutters join in. "Have a mushroom," they said, and soon those poor woodcutters were eating mushrooms and their stomachs were tickling and giggling. And at first they didn't want to join in with the dancing. Well, that's it. You don't join in with the dancing, do you? But they had to join in with the dancing. The nuns needed partners, and they were doing some strange dance, which in this country we would call stripping the willow. It's where you go up and have partners and come back and go, you know, it's a very old tradition. If you haven't been taught country dancing at your primary school, I think you've missed out on something. So those of you that haven't had this, you've survived something brilliant. Embarrassed 10-year-old boys dancing, not good. But anyway, soon they were dancing all these old traditional forms. And then they were singing. The nuns were trying to get them to sing hymns. And then they insisted the woodcutters taught them a song, which was rather embarrassing because the woodcutters only know very rude songs. And they had to keep missing out the words. And so every song seemed to go, and then the lady went... It was very interesting and went on for ages and ages. Until in the middle of the night, slowly the nuns sort of went to one side of the clearing and the woodcutters went to the other, and they were asleep. In the morning, the woodcutters woke and they looked around them and they couldn't see any nuns, and they thought it was a dream. It's all right. But there was the basket with the rest of the mushrooms. So they knew it had happened. And they picked it up and they walked down the hill. They gave up any hope of finding pearwood there, and they walked back down the hill to the village. And that is why, if you go to that place and you ask about mushrooms, they say, this is a chanterelle, this is a field mushroom, and this is the dancing nun's mushroom. Thank you. Which could well be a Somerset story, but it isn't. But I'm sure it could be. As we all
Well,
know.
it sounds like one of them country things. Could be a Suffolk story.
It's in fact Japanese.
Well,
I was about to say
those well-known, the well-known Japanese community in Suffolk and Somerset.
Yeah. It took me a while to find the origins of that story. It's quite fun.
It's beautiful story.
It is.
Okay.
And then later they found mushrooms to put on your shirts, and they call those button mushrooms.
Oh.
Right, before Bubba C gets off on anything else, let's thank Sarah for a fantastic evening of stories.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah. And announce what's coming up. Well, tomorrow, being Saturday, at 12:30, 12:30, it's Sanam is hosting a personal story swap. And so that's midday. And then next Friday, Mike Rust and Evita together are doing this are doing children's stories. This slot is Mike Rust and Evita, so that's going to be fun.
I look forward to that.
You know, there's loads more coming up on the cafe. I mean, there's the following Sunday. I mean, like 8 days, 9 days time. There's a worldwide story round. Then on the Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month. Oh no, the first Wednesday of the month. There's Tales and Tunes with Justin Demir, and then on the first Saturday of the month at 10:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning. Just a sec, I've got to check. I program it. I should remember these things. There's hold on. There's on the 7th. There's at 10 o'clock in the morning. There's our so the first Saturday of the month, so 10 o'clock in the morning, there's our young international storytellers. So either bring some young tellers along or come on and support them. But right now, it's fairly well to Sarah and all you other wonderful people, Mike and Kerins, Donald, Bubba C, anyone, and Evita, of course, who's sitting up the road from me. So we're in separate establishments, so we don't get an echo that happens when you on in these occasions. And of course, the one and only, the fantastic, the brilliant King Louis. Did you enjoy that, Louis?
Louis.
I like the view out of his window. He's in Great Britain, but his view is the San Francisco Bay in California on the West Coast. He's magical.
Yes. So anyway, and thank you, of course, Waleed, as always, for flying the magic.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you, and thank you guys for having this on tonight. Thank you very much.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Bye,
See
Donald. Bye, everybody.
you. Lovely to be
Bye.
here. Wonderful.
All right, good folk.
Bye.
Sarah, as always, lovely.
Bathroom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye,
Take
John.
care, everybody. Until the next time.
See you soon.
Louis! Have a great weekend, Louis.
Bye. Are you right?
Yes. Evita, are you in Star?
Yes, I am upstairs near the rooftop. I am.
Oh, okay. Star is one of my. It's one of my. I always stay at least part of my time in Marrakesh in Star. And I met Josephine Baker's son, one of her sons.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
pretty amazing.
and he talks more than I do.
Wow.
That shouldn't be legal.
Barbara, we have to go because we have
I know.
internet problems at the cafe. And
All right.
so we
I'm
can't
out.
do something about it. Okay, bye.
See
ya.
out. Take care.
Yeah.
Ciao.